The Galactic Council had tried to contact Earth 47 times over 200 years. Each message was sent in every language that humans spoke. The messages talked about friendship, about dangers in space, and about joining together with other worlds. The Council warned Earth about the Verath Empire, a group of aliens who destroyed planets and killed entire species. They asked Earth to help fight against this terrible enemy. Earth never answered. Not once. Commander Jake Morrison stood looking at a screen that showed where Earth was in the galaxy. He had been given the job of trying to talk to humans 5 years ago. Everyone knew it was a job that would lead nowhere. The people of Earth either could not hear the messages, or they did not want to talk. Lieutenant Nina Brooks walked up to Jake with 2 cups of hot drink. She handed one to him and looked at the screen. "Still nothing from them?" she asked. "Nothing at all," Jake said. "Our machines show that they get our messages. Their satellites even send our messages all over their planet. They know we are here. They know we want to talk." "Maybe they are scared," Nina said. "When some worlds find out they are not alone in space, they freeze up. They do not know what to do." "For 200 years. Jake shook his head. "No, this is different. They are doing this on purpose." Captain Helen Carter walked into the room. Her face looked worried. She was the highest-ranked human working for the Galactic Council. Her family had left Earth on a ship long ago, before Earth stopped talking to anyone. The Council had saved that ship when it broke down in space. "I just came from an important meeting," Helen said. "The Verath Empire has broken through our defenses at Corva Station. They are pushing toward the main worlds now. The Council is asking all member worlds to send all their military ships to help." "What about Earth?" Nina asked. Helen's face became hard. "The Council has given up on Earth. Starting today, humans are listed as a world that will not respond. We are supposed to leave them alone until they make faster-than-light travel on their own. If they ever do..." Jake felt something hurt inside his chest. He had family on Earth, distant cousins and relatives he had never met but thought about often. "So that is it? We just give up on them?" "The Council thinks we are respecting their choice," Helen said quietly. "Earth has ignored every message. They have made it clear what they want. They want nothing to do with us." "Or maybe they are getting ready," Jake said slowly. Both women looked at him. "Think about it," he said. "We have been telling them about the Verath for 200 years. We told them exactly how dangerous space is. What if they hurt us? What if they just are not ready to answer until they can handle things their own way?" "That would be nice to believe," Helen said. Her voice showed she did not think it was true. "But our intelligence reports show Earth's technology is still very far behind the rest of the galaxy. They have barely put bases on their own moon. Whatever they are doing, it will not matter when the Verath arrive at their solar system. And the way the Empire is moving, that is exactly where they are going next." The screen changed to show new information from the war. Another world had fallen to the Verath. The enemy was careful, brutal, and no one could stop them. Their empire had killed 17 different species in the past 100 years. "How long do we have?" Nina asked. "Our best guess is the Verath will reach Earth's solar system in 8 months, Helen said. "I asked permission to send one final warning to Earth. I want to tell them what is coming." "Will the Council let you?" Jake asked. "They already said yes. They think it is the right thing to do, even if Earth will not answer." Helen turned to leave, then stopped. "Jake, I want you to write the message. Make it good. This is the last time anyone will try to talk to Earth." Jake spent 3 days working on the message. He put in everything: the history of the Galactic Council, what the Verath threat was, when the invasion would happen, where the Verath fleet would probably appear in Earth's solar system. He added battle plans, information about technology, and honest facts about what Earth would face. The message was sent on every frequency in every major Earth language, with math proofs to show it was real. Like the 47 messages before it, Earth did not answer. 6 months went by. The Verath kept winning, crushing the last defenses between their empire and Earth's solar system. The Galactic Council moved all their people out of that area, giving up dozens of star systems to save their main worlds. Jake, Nina, and Helen were moved to the Council's emergency military headquarters. They helped coordinate the desperate defense of the galaxy's core worlds. None of them talked about Earth anymore. There was nothing to say. By all their calculations, the Vareth advance ships had already entered Earth's solar system. Another quiet world would fall. The galaxy would never know if humans had fought back, given up, or simply been killed without ever knowing they were not alone in the universe. Then 2 months later, the reports started coming in. Strange reports, impossible reports, reports that would change everything anyone thought they knew. Admiral Greg Patterson stood on the bridge of the Council warship Eternal Vigilance. He looked at the tactical display with confusion growing in his mind. For 30 years he had commanded fleets, fought pirates, and kept peace across 17 sectors. He understood space warfare better than anyone alive. What he was seeing made no sense at all. "Check those readings again," he ordered. His tactical officer, an alien named Vrix with 4 arms, worked the holographic controls. "Confirmed, Admiral. The Vareth forward battle group at Sigma 9 has gone completely silent. All 73 ships. No transmissions, no energy readings, nothing." "Equipment failure?" Greg suggested, even though he knew that was unlikely. "Impossible, sir. The Vareth have backup systems for everything, for an entire battle group to fail at the same time." Vrix's voice showed disbelief. Then they were attacked. Greg leaned forward. "Send a scout drone. I want to know what happened there." The drone took 6 hours to reach Sigma 9 and send back what it found. When the data arrived, every officer on the bridge stopped working to stare. The Vareth battle group was still there physically. Every ship floated exactly where it had been positioned. But they were dead in space. Their hulls had thousands of holes from what looked like solid objects moving at nearly the speed of light. No energy shields, no matter how good, could stop projectiles moving that fast. The math did not allow it. "Who has weapons like that?" Greg demanded. "The Council banned them 1,000 years ago." "Everyone did," Vrix confirmed. "The damage they cause is too dangerous. A missed shot could destroy planets with people on them many light years away, decades later." "Then who did this?" The answer came 3 days later when another Vareth formation disappeared from sensors. This time, Council ships were close enough to see it happen. The tactical data showed impossible speed, weapons moving faster than anything, should be able to move, and targeting that was more accurate than anything in the known galaxy. Whoever these attackers were, they were not using any technology the Council knew about. Greg called for an emergency meeting with the Council High Command. The chamber was filled with representatives from 40 species. All of them were looking at the same impossible data. Grand Counselor Thex, an elderly alien whose species had helped start the Council thousands of years ago, called the meeting to order. "We have confirmed reports of an unknown force attacking Vareth formations across the Outer Rim," Thex announced. "This force uses technology and tactics we do not recognize. They strike without warning, destroy their targets completely, and leave before we can make contact." "Could it be an unknown species?" someone asked. "Not likely," Thex replied. "Our surveys of this region are very thorough. There are no worlds we have not contacted with this level of technology." "Then who?" The question echoed across the chamber. Greg stood up. "Counselors, I have a theory. It is going to sound crazy." "At this point, Admiral, we will listen to anything," Thex said. "The attacks are concentrated along the path toward Earth's solar system," Greg explained, bringing up a star chart. "Every Vareth formation moving toward Earth has been hit. The ones moving in other directions have not been touched." The chamber fell silent. "You are suggesting Earth is responsible?" Thex's voice carried doubt. "The primitive world that ignored every contact attempt?" "I am suggesting we send a diplomatic ship to Earth's solar system immediately," Greg said. "Because if I am right, Earth did not ignore us. They just decided to handle things their own way." The Council debated for 2 hours before they agreed to send a ship. Greg volunteered to lead the mission himself, taking the Eternal Vigilance and a small diplomatic escort toward Earth's solar system. They came out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system, broadcasting peaceful messages on all frequencies. Greg expected either silence or a demand to leave. Instead, they got a response within seconds. Unidentified Council vessels. This is Earth Defense Command. You are entering restricted space. State your intentions. Greg blinked in surprise. The transmission was in perfect galactic standard, the main language of the Council that Earth should have no knowledge of. This is Admiral Greg Patterson of the Galactic Council. We request permission to approach Earth for diplomatic discussions. Permission denied, Admiral. Earth is currently under security protocols. However, we are sending coordinates for a meeting location in the outer system. Go there and shut down all active sensors. Any change from the sent flight path will be considered hostile. The transmission ended. They have security protocols? Rick said quietly. Admiral, they tracked us the instant we entered the system. They knew our signatures, our language, and responded in seconds. This is not a primitive civilization. No, Greg agreed, staring at Earth on the visual display. The blue and green planet looked peaceful. It never was. They followed the coordinates to a small moon orbiting a gas giant. As they got closer, Greg's sensors picked up something that made his breath catch. Ships. Hundreds of them. Sleek angular vessels, unlike anything in Council records, arranged in perfect defensive formations, and among them something larger. Massive cylinder-shaped structures that could only be shipyards, building more vessels even as he watched. A single ship separated from the formation and approached. It was smaller than the Eternal Vigilance but moved with deadly grace. Its hull was covered in what looked like armor that had been hit by weapons fire many times. Eternal Vigilance, this is Captain Ryan Hughes of the Earth Defense Force ship Retribution. Stand by to receive boarding party for preliminary security screening. Boarding party? Brix looked alarmed. Admiral, that is highly unusual. So is everything about this situation, Greg replied. Let them come aboard. 20 minutes later, Greg found himself face to face with humans for the first time in his career. Captain Hughes was a tall man with gray in his dark hair, joined by 4 soldiers in armor that made Council military equipment look old and weak. Admiral Patterson, Hughes said, extending his hand in the traditional human greeting. Greg shook it, noting the firm grip. I apologize for the security measures, but we are in the middle of a war. The Verath, Greg said, among others. Hughes smiled, though his eyes stayed cold. We have been expecting the Council to show up eventually. Took you longer than our analyst predicted? Captain, I have about 1,000 questions. I'm sure you do. Unfortunately, I am not allowed to answer most of them. However, I have been instructed to escort you to a meeting with someone who can. Fleet Admiral Karen Walsh is waiting to speak with you. Your Fleet Admiral wants to meet with me personally? You are the first Council representative to visit Earth's solar system in 200 years, Admiral. That makes you pretty important. Hughes gestured toward the airlock. Shall we? As they transferred to the Retribution, Greg caught glimpses of its interior. Clean, efficient, with technology he did not recognize, but that clearly worked. The crew moved with professional precision, their eyes sharp and alert. These were not peaceful scientists or struggling survivors. These were warriors. Experienced, capable, and very dangerous. The Retribution took them deeper into the system, past more ships, more installations, more evidence of a military buildup that must have taken centuries. Finally, they approached the largest structure Greg had ever seen, an orbital platform the size of a small moon, covered with weapons and surrounded by defensive satellites. Welcome to Olympus Station, Hughes said, Earth's primary military command center. They docked and Greg was escorted through corridors filled with personnel from every nation on Earth, working together with perfect coordination. Finally, they reached a conference room where a woman in a dark blue uniform waited. Fleet Admiral Karen Walsh was perhaps 60 years old, with steel gray hair and eyes that had seen combat. She stood as they entered, offering her hand. Admiral Patterson, thank you for accepting our invitation. Please sit. We have much to discuss. Greg sat, his escorts taking positions around the room while Hughes remained nearby. Admiral Walsh, I need to understand. Earth ignored 47 diplomatic transmissions over 2 centuries. We assumed you were either unable or unwilling to join galactic civilization. Yet here you are with a military that has been destroying Verath formations like they are nothing. What happened? Karen smiled. The expression was cold and calculating. Admiral Patterson, Earth did not ignore your transmissions. We heard every single one. We read them, analyzed them, and made a decision. What decision? That if we were going to enter the galactic stage, we would do it when we were ready. On our terms. As equals, not as clients begging for protection. She leaned forward. You sent us warnings about the Vareth 200 years ago. You told us they were unstoppable, that the Council could barely slow them down, so we decided to build something that could stop them, and we did. That is impossible. You should be centuries behind Council technology. Should be, Karen agreed. But when you are faced with a threat that could destroy you, you get creative. We took your warning seriously, Admiral. While the Council was fighting a defensive war trying to hold territory, we were preparing, building, testing, learning from your mistakes. You have been watching us. Every battle, every defeat, every tactical error. We have had monitoring stations throughout Council space for 150 years. You never noticed because you were not looking for them. Greg felt his understanding of the galaxy shift. Earth has been preparing for war for 2 centuries. Preparing is over, Karen said quietly. Now we are fighting, and we are going to win. The Council needs to know this. You need to coordinate with our forces. No, Admiral. The Council needs to stay out of our way. Karen's voice became hard. You had 200 years to deal with the Vareth. You failed. Now it is our turn. You cannot fight the entire Vareth Empire alone. Watch us. Karen stood. Captain Hughes will escort you back to your ship. You are free to return to Council space and deliver our message. Earth is no longer ignoring galactic civilization. We are just not asking for permission anymore. As Greg was escorted out, his mind raced. He had come expecting to find a primitive world in need of rescue. Instead, he had found something far more frightening. A species that had been watching, learning, and preparing to go to war against an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, and they thought they could win. Greg returned to Council space and made his report. The reaction was mixed. Some were relieved that Earth was fighting the Vareth. Others were terrified of what Earth had become. All of them wanted to know more. Over the next 3 months, the evidence became impossible to ignore. Earth was not just fighting the Vareth. They were winning. Decisively. Every Vareth formation that entered the region around Earth's solar system was destroyed. Not damaged, not forced to retreat. Completely destroyed. Earth's weapons were unlike anything the Council had. Their ships moved faster, hit harder, and coordinated better than any fleet in recorded history. Commander Jake Morrison watched the reports come in with a mixture of pride and fear. Pride that humans were proving themselves capable, fear of what they might become. They are not like us, Nina said one day, looking at the tactical displays. The Council fights to defend. Earth fights to destroy. They fight to win, Jake corrected. There is a difference. Is there? Nina turned to him. Look at the casualty numbers. Earth is losing hundreds of ships in these battles. Thousands of personnel. The Council would never accept losses like that. The Council would never accept the alternative either, Jake said. Earth is not trying to contain the Vareth. They are trying to eliminate them. Permanently. Captain Helen Carter joined them. Earth has announced their next target. They are going after Vareth Prime. Jake felt his stomach drop. The Vareth homeworld. That is suicide. That is what I said, Helen agreed. But Earth does not seem to care. They are assembling the largest fleet ever built. 48,000 ships. Every vessel they have. When? Nina asked. 2 weeks. They asked if any Council forces wanted to participate. The Council declined. Of course they did, Jake said. The Council sees this as reckless. A waste of resources on an objective that cannot be achieved. What do you see it as? Helen asked. Jake looked at the tactical display, at the green markers representing Earth's fleet gathering for the assault. I see it as Earth doing what they always said they would do, fighting on their own terms, winning or losing by their own choices, he paused. And I want to be there when it happens. The Council agreed to let Jake and Helen join Earth's fleet as observers. They wanted first-hand information about Earth's capabilities. Jake knew the real reason, though. The Council wanted to see if Earth could actually win before they committed any of their own forces. Jake found himself aboard the Earth warship Vengeance, flagship of Battle Group 7. The ship was smaller than Council capital ships but moved with frightening speed and power. Its crew of 200 worked with mechanical precision, every person focused on their task. Admiral Frank Morgan commanded the Vengeance and the entire battle group of 2,500 ships. He was younger than Jake expected, perhaps 45, with the kind of calm confidence that came from real combat experience. "Admiral Patterson speaks highly of you," Frank said, shaking Jake's hand. "Says you were the one who kept trying to contact Earth all these years." "Someone had to," Jake replied. "Though I admit this is not how I imagined first contact going." Frank smiled. "You expected us to ask for help, guidance, protection. We get that. But Earth learned a long time ago that the only person you can really count on is yourself." He gestured to the tactical display. "Let me show you what we are planning." The hologram showed Vareth Prime, a massive planet surrounded by orbital fortresses, minefields, and defense platforms. The Vareth had spent thousands of years making their homeworld impossible to attack. Hundreds of attackers had tried over the centuries. None had succeeded. The Council's best estimates say it would take at least 50,000 ships to crack these defenses. Jake said, "You are bringing 2,500. 2,500 in my battle group," Frank corrected. "There are 19 other battle groups converging on Vareth Prime at the same time. Total force commitment is 48,000 ships." Jake stared. "That is nearly your entire fleet." "Every ship we have built for 200 years, Frank confirmed. "Everything we have. This is the decisive engagement, Commander. We win here, or we lose everything." "But why attack at all? You are winning. The Vareth are retreating. You could liberate systems gradually, build up your position slowly, and give them time to adapt," Frank interrupted. "Time to rebuild. Time to develop counters to our weapons. No, we hit them now, with everything we have, and we end this war before they can recover." Helen had been listening quietly. "Admiral Morgan, you are risking your entire civilization on one attack." "Yes," Frank said simply. "That is the Earth way of war, Captain. When we commit to something, we commit completely. No holding back. We identified the strategic objective, calculated what it would take to achieve it, and built exactly that much force. Now we use it." Over the next week, Jake watched as Earth's massive fleet assembled at the staging point. 48,000 ships representing every military design Earth had developed, all converging on a single target. The coordination alone was impressive. Council forces could never have organized something this large. But Earth was not the Council. They had spent 2 centuries preparing for exactly this moment. "All units report ready," the tactical officer announced. Frank stood, his expression calm. "Begin the operation. All ships move out." The fleet moved as one, dropping into faster-than-light travel with perfect timing. When they emerged at Vareth Prime, the defensive platforms opened fire immediately, filling space with enough energy weapons to destroy a moon. The Earth fleet did not try to evade. They accelerated directly toward the defenses, their armor absorbing hits that would have destroyed Council ships. And as they closed, they returned fire. Jake had never seen anything like it. Thousands of ships firing at the same time, their weapons coordinated by computer systems, solid projectiles moving at nearly light speed, fusion missiles, particle beams, and weapons Jake did not recognize, all hammering the Varath defenses with perfect precision. The first orbital fortress died 3 minutes into the engagement, its shields overwhelmed by the amount of fire. The second fell a minute later, then 5 more at the same time. "They are breaking through," Helen whispered, watching the tactical display in shock. But the Varath were not helpless. Their counterattack destroyed dozens of Earth ships, then hundreds. Jake watched the casualty counter climb with sick horror. The Council would have withdrawn. The Council would have retreated to save their forces. Earth kept coming. "Battle Group 7, you are cleared to fire," Frank ordered. "Target the planetary shields. Begin orbital bombardment." "Admiral," Jake protested, "there are civilians down there. Billions of them." Frank looked at him with eyes that had seen too much war. "Commander, those civilians support an empire that has killed 17 species. The Varath do not take prisoners. They do not negotiate, they consume everything in their path. We warned them a month ago that we were coming. We told them to evacuate their homeworld. They chose to stay. You cannot do this." "We can, and we will," Frank said firmly. "This is total war, Commander, not the limited fights the Council prefers. Total war. We will destroy the Vareth Empire's ability to wage war, which means destroying their factories, their shipyards, and yes, their cities if necessary. That is what total war means. Jake felt sick, but he could not look away as Earth's fleet began bombing Vareth Prime. Not with careful strikes or targeted weapons, but with massive solid projectiles designed to cause earthquakes and break continents. The planet's shields held for 20 minutes, then failed. What followed was destruction on a scale Jake had never seen. The Varath fleet tried to defend, but Earth's coordination was perfect. Every Varath ship that entered the system was tracked, targeted, and destroyed before it could fight back effectively. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it was over, Vareth Prime was a broken world, its industrial capacity destroyed, its capital burning, and Earth had lost 4,000 ships. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "remaining Vareth forces are surrendering across the sector. We are receiving transmissions on all frequencies. They are asking for terms." Frank nodded slowly. "Tell them we will accept nothing less than complete surrender. All military forces to be disbanded. All weapons technology to be turned over to Earth Authority. They have 24 hours to comply." He turned to Jake. "Commander, I suggest you report back to the Council. Tell them the war is over. Earth has won." Jake could only nod, his mind struggling to process what he had witnessed. Earth had done the impossible. They had destroyed an empire that had threatened the galaxy for centuries, and they had done it in less than a year. But the cost: 4,000 ships, hundreds of thousands of people dead, and an entire world devastated. This was the Earth way of war. Total commitment, overwhelming force, victory at any price. Jake wondered if the galaxy was ready for a species that fought like this. Then he realized the question did not matter. Earth was not asking permission anymore. The trip back to Council space took 3 days. Jake spent most of that time writing his report, trying to find words to describe what he had seen. How could he explain to the Council what Earth had done? How could he make them understand the kind of species humanity had become during their 200 years of silence? When he arrived at Council Station, he was immediately summoned to an emergency session. Every council member was present. Every species wanted to hear what had happened at Vareth Prime. Jake stood before them and delivered his report. He described the size of Earth's fleet, the coordination of their attack, the complete destruction of Vareth Prime's defenses, the surrender of the Vareth Empire, and the cost, the terrible, unavoidable cost. When he finished, the chamber was silent for a long moment. Finally, Grand Counselor Thex spoke. "Commander Morrison, are you saying that Earth has single-handedly defeated the Vareth Empire, the threat that has plagued this galaxy for over a century?" "Yes, Counselor. And they did this by attacking the Vareth homeworld directly, accepting massive casualties and devastating an entire planet?" "Yes, Counselor. This is not how the Council wages war." "No, Counselor, it is not." Jake paused. But it worked. Another long silence. "What does Earth want now?" Thex asked. "What are their demands?" "I do not know, Counselor. But I think we are about to find out. Earth has requested a formal meeting with the Council. Fleet Admiral Karen Walsh will be here in 2 days." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some council members were grateful that the Vareth threat was gone. Others were terrified of Earth's military power. All of them were uncertain about what would happen next. Jake left the chamber feeling exhausted. He found Nina waiting for him outside. "How did it go?" she asked. "About as well as expected. The Council does not know whether to thank Earth or fear them." "What do you think they should do?" Jake looked out at the stars through the station's viewport. "I think they should do both. Earth saved the galaxy from the Varath. That deserves gratitude. But Earth also showed they are willing to wage total war, to accept massive casualties, to destroy entire worlds to achieve their objectives. That deserves caution." "So what happens now?" "Now we wait for Admiral Walsh to arrive. And we hope that Earth is interested in peace, because if they are not, there is no force in this galaxy that can stop them." The council chamber had never been more crowded. Representatives from every member species filled the galleries, all wanting to see this historic moment. Jake stood near the back, still wearing his uniform from his time with Earth's fleet, having come straight from his debriefing. On the central platform, Admiral Frank Morgan stood beside Fleet Admiral Karen Walsh. The two Earth officers looked uncomfortable in the ceremonial setting, clearly more at home on warship bridges than in diplomatic chambers. Grand Counselor Thex opened the meeting. We are gathered to formally acknowledge Earth's defeat of the Vareth Empire, ending a threat that has plagued the galaxy for over a century. Admiral Walsh, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I offer humanity's first official welcome to galactic civilization, with our deepest gratitude for your sacrifice. Karen nodded, but her expression stayed neutral. Thank you, Counselor. However, we are not here for gratitude. We are here to discuss the future. A murmur went through the chamber. Thex looked surprised. I apologize, Admiral. We assumed you would wish to formalize Earth's membership in the Council now that the war is over. That is one option, Karen agreed, but we have others to propose first. She activated a holographic display showing a map of the galaxy. The Vareth Empire controlled 217 systems at the start of this conflict. Earth forces have secured all of them. That territory is now under Earth administration. The murmur became a roar of objections. Thex raised his hands for silence. Admiral Walsh, surely you do not intend to claim conquered territory. The Council's charter specifically prohibits imperial expansion. The Council's charter governs Council members. Karen replied calmly. Earth is not a member. We are an independent power that happened to solve your Varath problem. Those systems are now under our protection, and they will remain so. Admiral Greg Patterson stood from his seat. Admiral Walsh, I understand Earth has earned a position of respect. But you cannot simply take 200 star systems. Many of those worlds belong to species that existed before the Varath conquered them. We know, Frank Morgan spoke up. We have already begun returning control. Every species that can prove historical claim to a world will have the option to take back administration, provided they agree to Earth's security requirements. Security requirements? Thex asked carefully. Earth will maintain military installations in every system we liberated, Karen explained. We will control all faster than light travel lanes. We will regulate weapons technology, and we will have final authority on all military matters. That is not liberation, someone shouted from the gallery. That is occupation. Call it what you want, Karen said, her voice cutting through the noise. But understand this. We spent 200 years building a military capable of defeating the Vareth. We lost 6,000 ships and 200,000 people in this war. We are not going to walk away and let the next threat appear while everyone goes back to talking in chambers. Jake watched the proceedings with growing worry. He understood Earth's position, even felt sympathy for it. But the Council could not simply accept this. There had to be some middle ground. Helen Carter leaned close to him. They are going to force the Council into a corner. This is not negotiation. This is an ultimatum. She was right. Earth was not asking for membership or recognition. They were dictating terms. Thex talked with his advisors for several minutes before responding. Admiral Walsh, the Council cannot accept these conditions. We understand Earth's sacrifices, but the galactic community is built on cooperation, not control. We must ask you to reconsider. No, Karen said simply. Then we have a problem, Thex replied, his voice showing deep concern. Earth has proven itself a powerful military force, but the Council represents thousands of civilizations. We cannot allow one species to control such vast territory alone. You cannot stop us, Frank said bluntly. You know it, we know it. Earth's fleet is larger than all Council forces combined. Our technology is more advanced. Our coordination is better. If you try to contest our claims militarily, you will lose. The chamber erupted in chaos. Species that had never agreed on anything were united in their anger. Earth had saved them from the Varath, only to become a new threat themselves. Jake pushed forward through the crowd, making his way to the platform. Admiral Walsh, may I speak? Karen looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. Commander Morrison has earned the right to be heard. Jake turned to face the Council. I have spent the last 3 months with Earth forces. I watched them fight at Vareth Prime. I have seen what they are capable of, and I have talked with their people. I think I understand what is happening here. Please enlighten us, Thex said, though his tone suggested doubt. Earth is not trying to build an empire, Jake explained. They are scared. That got everyone's attention. Karen's expression did not change, but Frank shifted slightly. which Jake took as confirmation. For 200 years, Earth prepared for the Verath, Jake continued. They turned their entire civilization into a war machine, all to stop one threat. And they succeeded. But now they are asking themselves, what is the next threat? What else is out there that the Council cannot handle? The galaxy is at peace, Thex protested. The galaxy was at peace until the Verath started conquering systems, Jake countered. Earth heard our warnings. They saw how the Council fought a defensive war for a century without stopping the threat. They learned that in this galaxy, the only security is the security you build yourself. He turned to Karen. Admiral, you are not wrong to be cautious. The Council's military thinking is built on deterrence and limited engagement. We avoid total war because the cost is too high, but that means we cannot eliminate existential threats, only contain them. Exactly, Karen said. So we eliminated the threat permanently, but at what cost? Jake asked quietly. Earth lost 6,000 ships and 200,000 people. You devastated an entire world. You are occupying 200 systems with a military force you can barely sustain. And now you are making enemies of the only potential allies you have in the galaxy. We do not need allies, Frank said. We need security. You need both, Jake replied. Because here is what Earth seems to have missed. You won the war, but you cannot win the peace. Not alone. You are stretched thin, exhausted, and sitting on territory that is going to need decades to stabilize. Meanwhile, you have frightened every species in the galaxy. They are not going to attack you, but they are not going to trade with you, share technology with you, or cooperate with you either. What are you suggesting? Karen asked. A compromise, Jake said. Earth keeps military authority in the liberated systems, but accepts Council civilian administration. You maintain your security, but let the Council help with reconstruction, returning control to original inhabitants and governance. In return, Earth joins the Council as a permanent member with veto power over military decisions. Thex looked interested. That is an unusual proposal. It gives Earth what they actually need, Jake explained, which is assurance that the Council will take threats seriously and act decisively. And it gives the Council what it needs, which is a check on Earth's military power and a way to gradually integrate humanity into galactic civilization. We would keep independent military command? Karen asked. Yes, but you would coordinate with Council forces and accept Council input on strategic decisions. And if the Council tries to limit our military development, you have veto power. If the Council proposes something that threatens Earth's security, you can block it. Karen and Frank exchanged glances, some silent communication passing between them. Finally, Karen turned to Thex. If the Council agrees to Commander Morrison's proposal, Earth will accept trial membership for 25 years. During that time, we will maintain our current security position while participating in Council discussions. At the end of that period, we will decide whether full membership is appropriate. The Council will need time to consider this, Thex said. You have 1 week, Karen replied. After that, we proceed with our original plans. The meeting ended in chaos, but Jake thought he saw a path forward. It was not perfect, but it was better than the alternatives. Helen found him afterwards in the observation deck. That was either brilliant or the biggest mistake of your career. Probably both, Jake admitted. But it was the only option I could see that did not lead to Earth occupying half the galaxy, or the Council trying to fight a war they could not win. Do you think Earth will accept the compromise long term? Helen asked. I do not know, but I think something important was said in that chamber that nobody wants to admit. What is that? Earth is not the problem. The problem is that the galaxy's existing power structure cannot handle existential threats. The Council is designed for peacekeeping and mediation, not total war. As long as that is true, species like humanity are going to prepare for war independently rather than rely on protection from others. Helen was quiet for a long moment. So what do? We figure out how to make shared security actually work, Jake said. We learn from Earth's approach while keeping the Council's values. We find a way to be both peaceful and strong. That is a nice thought, but is it possible? It has to be. Because if we cannot figure it out, the next crisis will tear. 5 years after the end of the Verath War, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the hybrid Council Earth station orbiting New Kelmar. The station itself showed how much things had changed. Council design merged with Earth engineering, a collaboration that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. Nina Brooks joined him, now wearing the uniform of a liaison officer between Earth Defense Force and Council Military Command. "You look like you are thinking hard about something." "Just thinking about how much has changed," Jake replied. He pointed at the busy station below them. 5 years ago, Earth was a mystery. Now they are everywhere. It was true. Earth had joined galactic civilization with the same intensity they brought to warfare. Human traders, engineers, scientists, and diplomats had spread throughout Council space, bringing new ideas and approaches that challenged thousands of years of established practices. "Not everyone is happy about it," Nina said. "There is a growing movement in the core worlds calling for stricter limits on Earth expansion." "Let them complain," came a familiar voice. Admiral Karen Walsh approached, her uniform showing the new symbol of Joint Command. "We are not expanding. We are participating," Jake smiled. Over the past 5 years, he had worked closely with Karen, helping to build understanding between Earth and the Council. They had developed mutual respect even if they did not always agree. "Admiral, good to see you. What brings you to New Kelmar?" "Emergency session," Karen replied, her face serious. "We have a situation developing in Sector 19. Long-range sensors detected unusual energy readings near the galactic rim. It could be nothing, or it could be first contact with another unknown civilization." "How is Earth responding?" Nina asked, carefully. "We have sent scout ships, but we are coordinating fully with Council forces. The diplomats are taking the lead." Karen's expression softened slightly. "See? We can learn new approaches." A priority alert flashed across Jake's communicator. He read it, then looked up at Karen. "The Council is calling an emergency military committee. They want both of us there." In the Council's military chamber, Admiral Greg Patterson was already presenting the situation. Holographic displays showed the Sector 19 readings. Massive energy readings suggesting technology beyond both Council and Earth capabilities. "We are calling it the Sigma anomaly," Greg explained. "It appeared 3 days ago and has been growing steadily. If these readings are accurate, we are looking at energy output equal to the entire Vareth Empire at its peak." "Another threat," someone said quietly from the gallery. "Or an opportunity," Karen said. "We do not know anything yet except that something big is out there." Grand Counselor Thex, looking older than Jake remembered, raised his hand. "The question before us is how to respond. Do we approach peacefully or do we prepare for conflict?" "We do both," Jake said, drawing all eyes. "We send a diplomatic mission with full military escort. We show that we are willing to talk, but we are not helpless." "A joint Earth Council fleet?" Greg asked. "Exactly. Equal numbers from both shared command structure. We show whoever's out there that the galaxy is united." Karen nodded slowly. "I can support that. But the fleet needs to be substantial. If this turns hostile, we need to be able to protect the diplomatic team and withdraw safely." Over the next week, a task force assembled at New Kelmar. 50 Council ships and 50 Earth vessels, commanded together by Admiral Greg Patterson and Earth Admiral Lisa Hayes. Captain Jake Morrison was assigned as primary diplomatic liaison, with Nina Brooks as his second. The task force entered Sector 19 carefully, all sensors active, weapons powered but not armed. As they approached the anomaly, its true nature became clear. It was not a natural thing. It was a structure built by someone. "My God," Nina whispered. "That thing is the size of a solar system." The structure was a massive ring of connected platforms and living areas, surrounding a cluster of artificial stars. Energy readings suggested a civilization with capabilities far beyond anything in Council records. "Send greetings on all frequencies," Greg ordered. "All languages, all signals. Let them know we come in peace." The response was immediate. "A transmission in perfect galactic standard. Greetings, younger civilizations. We are the architects. We have watched your recent conflict with interest. A delegation will arrive shortly to discuss your presence in this sector." 3 ships emerged from the structure, moving with technology that made both Council and Earth vessels look primitive. They approached the task force, then sent docking coordinates. Jake found himself in a conference room facing 3 beings that were hard to describe. Creatures of energy and matter combined, their forms changing between states. The architects, it seemed, had moved beyond traditional biological existence thousands of years ago. "You are the humans," one of them said, its voice somehow kind despite being alien, "the species that fought with such intensity against the Vareth." "We are," Jake confirmed. "And these are our allies from the Galactic Council. We come seeking peaceful contact. Peace, another architect repeated. An interesting concept. Your species wages total war, then claims to seek peace. We seek security, Karen said, present through holographic link. There is a difference. We fight when necessary, but we prefer not to. We have watched your galaxy for thousands of years, the third architect said. We saw the Verath rise and consume. We saw the Council struggle and fail to stop them. We saw humanity prepare in silence, then strike with devastating force. Now we see you attempt to build something new together. Why did you not help? Greg asked. If you have been watching, you could have stopped the Verath centuries ago. Younger civilizations must solve their own problems, the first architect replied. We learned this truth long ago. Outside help prevents growth. You needed to face the Verath yourselves to learn what you were capable of. That is a cold way of thinking, Nina said. A lot of people died. Yes, but your civilization survived and became stronger. The Council learned that sometimes peace requires strength. Humanity learned that victory requires allies. These are valuable lessons. Jake leaned forward. Why reveal yourselves now? Because you are ready, the architect said simply. Your war with the Verath was not the first test, and it will not be the last. The galaxy contains threats and opportunities beyond your current understanding. You will face them in time. But now, with humanity and the Council working together, you have a chance to meet these challenges successfully. What kind of threats? Karen asked sharply. We cannot tell you. You must discover them yourselves. But we can offer you something else. Knowledge. We will share certain technologies, certain insights that will help you prepare. Not everything you need to solve your problems, but enough to give you a fighting chance. Over the next 3 months, representatives from Earth, the Council, and the architects engaged in an exchange of information that changed galactic civilization. The architects shared advances in energy generation, materials science, and faster-than-light travel. In return, they asked for nothing except that the younger civilizations use this knowledge wisely. Jake stood once again on New Kelmer Station, watching ships come and go. Earth vessels carrying architect technology to their solar system for study. Council ships spreading the new knowledge throughout their territory. And mixed crews, human and alien, working together, staffing the new joint installations. Captain Helen Carter found him there. She had been promoted to Admiral herself, now commanding the Council's 8th Fleet. I heard you are being reassigned. First Ambassador to the Architects, Jake confirmed. Apparently my experience building understanding between Earth and the Council makes me qualified to build an even bigger understanding. It is a good choice. You have always been better at building bridges than burning them. That is because I have seen what burning bridges leads to, Jake said quietly. Earth and the Council nearly went to war 5 years ago. We were saved by compromise, by people willing to see past their own interests to what the galaxy needed. Do you think it will last? Helen asked. This peace between Earth and the Council? I think it has to. The architects made it clear there are bigger threats out there. We cannot afford to fight each other when there are dangers we have not even discovered yet. So humanity's role is to be the galaxy's warriors? No, Jake said firmly. Humanity's role is to remind the galaxy that sometimes peace requires the willingness to fight. And the Council's role is to remind humanity that strength without wisdom is just destruction. He pulled up a holographic image of Earth, the blue and green world that had changed the galaxy's balance of power. We ignored every galactic call for 200 years, then showed up armed for total war. That is the story people will tell. But it is not the whole truth. What is the whole truth? That Earth was scared. They heard our warnings about the Verath and realized the galaxy was more dangerous than they imagined. So they prepared. Because that is what humans do when they are afraid. We build, we plan, we fight. But we also learn, we adapt. We cooperate when it serves our interest. And now? Now Earth is part of something bigger. We are not alone anymore, and neither is the Council. Whatever comes next, we will face it together. That is not the story anyone expected, but it is the one we got. Admiral Lisa Hayes joined them, looking tired but satisfied.